Hello, it's Gary reaching out from Elevate Practice Intelligence, and welcome to a new three-part series on Sell My Practice. Let's just spend a minute and review the topics for each of the three parts. Part one is all about creating an exit plan in order to maximize value within your practice. Part two is understanding what is my practice worth, and this is how you're looking at the buckets of valuation and maximizing the profit in your practice before you expose it to an open market. And part three is all understanding about the buyers that exist in the open market. So should I be considering a private equity firm as a potential end game buyer, or a specialized buyer like a national healthcare company, etc. So let's jump into today's topic. And today's topic is Sell My Practice, exit plan in order to extract maximum value from your practice. As a general comment, practice owners are woefully unprepared when it comes to planning for the sale of their practice. In my experience, the optimal time frame for exit planning strategy is about 2 to 3 years out from the date of sale. According to the CFIB in their latest article, Succession Tsunami, only 16% of owners planning to exit in the next 12 months have a formal succession plan, and only 11% of business owners that are looking to exit in the next 2 to 5 years have a formal succession plan. They also reference that 70% of small business owners will exit over the next decade, which means that $2 trillion in assets will change hands in the next 10 years. A staggering amount for sure. So what is an exit plan? An exit plan is a blueprint of how you convert practice value into personal wealth. It's how you shift to the next chapter of your life on your terms and timetable. Here are a few items that a well thought out exit plan should address. What are the goals of the shareholders? What is my practice value today? What could my practice be worth in 2 years, in 3 years? What is my cash price? What do I want the sale price to be? How do I decrease income and estate tax? Who are the buyers, and how do I get 2 to 3 buyers to the sale table? And the last point is, what deal structures are you open to? Equally important when planning the exit cycle, that you understand where potential obstacles could lie. And more often than not, the obstacles lay with the clinic owner or the practice owner themselves. And this is understanding the loss of identity, the loss of control, the legacy that the practice owner wants from their clinic. It's understanding what seller biases a practice owner might have created for themselves over the last 5, 10, 15, 30 years of owning their practice. It's important to understand the value and where the practice owner places value. And more often than not, a practice owner will overinflate the value of their practice. So understanding what the notional value is versus when you expose a practice to the open market. It's important to also understand that this isn't a part-time, exit planning isn't a part-time. It's not something you do off the corner of your desk. It needs to be on your A-list for a year, 2 years, 3 years as you get to that close of the deal. And the last point could be related to owner conflict and the conflict that the owner has within themselves as they try to sell a practice and extract cash for them to enjoy the next chapter of their life, and also trying to do what's best for their team members that they'll be leaving behind. So where's the conflict in that scenario of owner leaving and the team that they leave behind? Hope that helps. Before we jump into exit planning as a process or the roadmap, it's important to always qualify the information that's contained within either the blogs for Elevate Practice Intelligence or these videos. So a quick disclaimer, the information provided herein is for informational purposes only. The information should not be considered a substitute for professional legal or financial advice. You should always consult with a professional expert in any of these areas before taking any actions or making any decisions. Appreciate that. So let's jump into exit planning as a process. We think about a starting point for the processes. It's always having coherence between shareholders and understanding who you are building your team around. And this is your financial, your legal, your value growth advisor like Elevate Practice Intelligence. There could be many different team members that you are approaching as you walk through the exit planning cycle. Understanding how you want to develop your plan. So always start with the end in mind. And in this type of plan, it's critical to understand who your buyers are. Do you want to be selling to a national healthcare company? And how do you get 2 or 3 buyers to the table? Same with PE firms, or same with local competitors in your market or niche area. The largest component of the exit planning always comes from cleaning up your corporate structure. So cleaning up your profit and loss statement. This is where it takes 12, 18 months to get this right. When you think about an exit plan, think about 2 to 3 years. The first year is cleanup. The second 12 months or year 2 is all about maintaining earnings, showing that you can go from 8% EBITDA to 18% EBITDA. And then you're also forecasting out what the next 12 months or 24 months could look like on a pro forma budget at the date of close. So this is critical to be able to eliminate any one-time non-recurring expenses. Where do you have excessive compensation going out, and how can you get that off the books? How do you have non-working income going out? So this could be to a spouse that's attached to the business but doesn't do any work in the business. This is typically where you're looking for the skeletons in the closet that are keeping the practice from running at maximum value. Equally important is putting together a 1, 2, or 3 page pitch deck that you will be sending or discussing with any potential buyer that you have. This is a review or an overview of your competitive advantage, how you create a world-class client experience, how you will maintain earnings at 20% plus EBITDA, how you plan to grow in new value services or products where there could be an asset sale. This is always in the reference of value is always future looking. And then it's prepping for your due diligence. There is a lot that needs to be done around your clinic to be able to maximize square footage occupancy rates. So where do you have your junk piled up in your clinic? Do you need a new coat of paint or a fresh carpet in the waiting area? Little expenses will make a big impression first time when the due diligence process comes along. So important footnote here, occupancy rates per square foot. You should be able to bill anywhere from $350 to $400 a square foot. So if you have a 5,000 square foot practice, you should be at the neighborhood of $2 million in revenue. So it's decluttering and freshening up your clinic to make the best first time impression possible. It's equally important to understand what an LOI is, a letter of intent. It's a non-binding agreement between 2 parties that allows the due diligence process to move forward. But what happens at the end of the due diligence process, and how do you get into the negotiation of what are the maintainable earnings and what is the multiplying factor that's going to be added to your EBITDA? So is it a 3 times, a 5 times? If you've got multiple clinics, it'll be higher typically than a 5 times multiple. So how do you negotiate that phase? And then understanding the closing costs. What are the closing costs to get this deal done? And typically it could be over $50,000 in legal and accounting fees and other costs, consulting costs to get that deal closed. So those are the components that I would stress the most that are important in the planning process. So that concludes the first part of a 3-part series on Sell My Practice. I will be adding a blog at the end of June to my webpage that is more information specific to exit plan and how to extract maximum value from your practice. Stay tuned, I have 2 more videos coming up. They should be loaded by the first week of July, and they're all around second part to do with the how to evaluate your practice. So how do you evaluate your practice today? And then how do you implement strategies that's going to maximize your value if you've got 2 years for your exit planning? And the third part is all specific to different buyers. What are the PE firms looking for? What are the specialized buyers, national healthcare companies looking for? Be able to share some of that information with you as well. So Gary from Elevate Practice Intelligence, thank you for joining, and I'll see you for part 2. Thank you.